Hi there. This is a little info session. As we keep exploring all these breathing techniques and variations, it can help if you have an idea of what's going on underneath and what to expect. After all, it's not a field that many people know about in the West. And when you practice it yourself, it can take a long time to understand what's going on with your own mind. This is a very subtle field of study. So, really, we need to understand what yoga is. Yoga is a system of practical tools designed to instigate the opening of the body and mind. These tools, by their very nature, create change. And the meditative aspect is to be observing this process of change. It's a pragmatic process. It is gradual, and it takes a long time. And it's good that it takes time, because this allows us to see each step of the way clearly, which helps us understand how the nature of the mind works. And it's quite foolish to rush or push this process. That will lead to problems. So we have stretching as the main beginner field of yoga, and this is about opening up the body, unlocking it, in particular releasing tensions from the past. We do have the notion of karma here, and we can see that yoga is a pathway to resolve karma. As we learn about the body, we gradually realize, if we slow things down, that the mind is always linked with what's happening with the body. Once we have realized this, we enter an intermediate stage of learning. While breath work in the beginning is more about addressing anxiety, stress, and fatigue, the intermediate stage is when we start to open the mind up. When I first did a major intensive study of breath work, I was in India, and I was practicing on my own for about 5 hours each morning. I'd learned about the physical stretching side of yoga. My teacher recognized it was time for me to go deeper or go further in this spiritual practice, to open up to what is really possible in yoga. Each day, my teacher would give me the next step in the breath training, and as I kept going, I would come back to him for the next steps. What I found when I was going through this process, by doing so much strong breath work, was something quite amazing. Something I would describe as entering the yoga dream. So after hours of breath work, I would then go out into the city of Varanasi and have experiences. It was like I was in a dream. And then after a few hours, suddenly, it was like my mind would pop. If you imagine being underwater and then some bubbles of water coming up slowly to the surface and then releasing into the clear air, I started to notice that my mind did that. And when that happened, I suddenly stopped and felt something new and realized what had been going on. Now, the stronger the breath work you do, the longer it takes for that bubble to pop. And the further and further we go, the more subtle it is to detect. I say this to you so that you can perhaps consider that when you do lots of breath work, you won't know what's changing. You may well be in the yoga dream and not realizing. And if you have a life that's full of drama, like most people, well, then it's very difficult for you to distinguish what is causing what. It's important to understand what's happening to the mind. And the key here is it's all about the unconscious mind. Now, I've used this metaphor before, but it's quite helpful, I think. So let's say a husband or wife is angry at their partner for not washing the dishes. The conscious scenario, the conscious story is about the dishes, but the unconscious concern, the real fear, is about security, saying, you don't love me or you don't care enough to do the dishes. So, when we watch our mind moving, opening, changing, we need to see where it gets stuck and not get caught up in the conscious storylines, but rather watch for the movements, watch for what's opening up in the unconscious mind. And if you take years to study this, you will see that what's going on in your life is quite predictable after a while. You'll see that you get caught up in the same kinds of problems because of the unconscious habits that you haven't yet resolved. When you start using the breath, it will take you to these areas. So, generally we start beginners with slow, deep breathing. We try to get people to calm down, to become relaxed, to be able to sit still and quiet. Slowing the breath gets us to a certain place, gives us a chance to observe things moving. But once we start adding the extra qualities of breath work, holding the full breath and holding the empty breath, now we're really going to work with the deep parts of our unconscious mind. And don't forget, we're working with energy. So, wrapping up here, the main thing is breath work is something that is best studied slowly, gradually, over more than 10 years. And don't think that it's about relaxing. That's only the beginner level. It's about opening. And it becomes more and more powerful the more concentrated your focus becomes. Eventually you will see that you are opening up your whole life. Why? Because you're opening up your whole mind. Here we connect up with the teachings of advanced yoga, the nature of consciousness, and our perceived realities. Who would have thought breathing could offer you access to all of that? Anyway, if you want help to be guided along this path, I would love to mentor you. It's really a matter of you starting with the basics, practicing them every day for a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, slowly increasing the load, adding subtle changes, opening up new areas, and reflecting upon them. It can be really amazing. But never forget, meditation, taking the time to be still, quiet, to sit, observing your own mind, is always the most important part of any yoga practice. Meditation gives you the clarity. And clarity and insight, wisdom, make everything easier. Okay, hope that's helpful to some degree. Thank you very much.